Sarah blinked. Had Mitchell just said what she thought he had just said? Had her boyfriend, in his casual Australian accent, just said what she thought he had just said? Because if he had, then that was completely incongruous with the entire rest of the evening. Like if he had been talking about animal rights and joining PETA and then turned around and ordered a steak. I'm Neil A. Yeager, and today I'm reading from my novel, Non-Hollywood. Check out this video's info section to find out more about me, including where you can find Non-Hollywood. This is chapter 6, Actress, Agent, A Nice Meal, and some other stuff. Mitchell continued, and that's really it basically. Though most people considered Sarah an excellent actress, there was no way that she could stop the confusion that she was feeling from showing on her face. Things had been going along swimmingly, what with celebrating Mitchell's career and all, and then this? To Sarah, the two of them had always seemed a good pair, similar in several ways, not the least of which was that they were both trying to break into the entertainment business. Sarah was an aspiring actress, and Mitchell was an aspiring agent. They had lived together for close to a year, and today, Mitchell had received a promotion and had gone from aspiring talent agent to real talent agent. Bona fide. Now, Sarah was still on the aspiring side of the equation, but she was happy for him. Of course she was happy for him. He was her boyfriend. She was his girlfriend. Sharing the big moments is kind of what that whole boyfriend-girlfriend thing is about. Well, that and sex. Mitchell leaned back in his chair and stared out the restaurant window toward the ocean. He still had that happy glow from his good news and from the red wine. And as always, he had that casual Australian thing that he did that she found so sexy. But what he was saying now? What was he saying? "What is it you're saying?" Sarah asked. "What is it I'm saying? I think I just said it, didn't I?" he said in his sexy Australian drawl. His answer didn't help. Sarah was still puzzled. She looked over at him. We're celebrating, right?" she asked. "That is what we're doing here, isn't it?" "Well, yes. I thought we were celebrating," she continued. "But this part, that you just said, that last little bit there, that doesn't feel like such a celebratory thing to me." Mitchell sighed and said, "I'm sorry. I just think that it's time that we, go our separate ways." "It's time. Now," she said. 8:17. That's the time to go separate ways, not 8:16 or 7:34. Sarah, I'm just really confused here. When did this happen? "It's just something I've been thinking about lately," he said. "Lately? How lately is lately? Since 5:30? 6:15? Stop it, Sarah. There's no reason to ruin the evening." "Ruin the evening? Ruin the evening. I'm sorry, but I think you have first dibs on the whole ruining the evening thing. Up until about 8:16, things were flying along great for me." "Sarah, prior to 8:16, I was having a great evening, celebrating my boyfriend's new promotion as a talent agent, and eating at a restaurant nicer than the one that I work at, and eating duck, which really surprised me. I mean, I never thought I would like duck, but I did. And we had good news, and we had duck, and we had wine, and then 8:17 comes along, and I'm being dumped. And, oh God, I'm being dumped." Sarah paused, then said, "I think that duck just might come up again." As she rested her head in her hands, Sarah heard a chuckling from the next table. She looked up to see the man at the next table smiling at her. "You've got to admit," he said, "it's pretty funny." "Funny?" "Yeah, you guys have been there having an obnoxiously good time." "An obnoxiously good time?" "Yeah. And I was just thinking that if you didn't stop that ridiculous giggling soon, I might just have to slit my wrists. And then boom, he hits you with that one. I love it. Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed tonight's performance, she said. Now, if you don't mind, oh, go right ahead, he laughed. Don't mind me. You didn't before. Sarah turned back to look at Mitchell, and finding nothing there, she put her forehead down on the table. Look, sweetie, he began. I just think... No, she interrupted him. Don't do the sweetie thing. Not now. And don't do the Australian thing either. Not now. I'm Australian. I'm not sure how to stop doing the Australian thing. Just don't. Okay? Well, you know, people just outgrow each other. Sarah looked back up at Mitchell. She said, outgrow. I've been outgrown? Is that what you just said? I said, I think we've outgrown each other. Outgrown each other. That makes no sense. If someone is outgrown, then that means that someone else has to be doing the outgrowing. Two people can't outgrow each other in the same way that two people can't be taller than each other. It just makes no sense. So what you're saying is that I've been outgrown. Fine, Sarah. However you want to say it. I want to say it correctly is how I want to say it. You're saying that you've grown. Lately, apparently. You've grown and I'm, what, stunted? He's definitely saying that you're stunted, chimed in the guy from the next table. Sarah tried to ignore him. I'm not saying that you're stunted. And how exactly did you grow, huh? Sarah asked. You got a new job, which is great, don't get me wrong, but grow? How have you grown? Mitchell paused and just looked at her. We're not doing this. Not doing what? What he means, said the next table guy, is that he's not going to sit here and listen to you whine. Would you please just shut up and eat your... What is it you're eating? I'm not sure. Some veal thing that I can't pronounce. Pretty good. Great. Then just stuff your face with it and mind your own business. Please. She looked back at Mitchell, whose look conveyed nothing new. She looked down at her watch. 8:21. Apparently news takes longer than 4 minutes to sink in because she still couldn't believe this situation. Although maybe she should believe it. Maybe she should have seen it coming. Her first impression of him had been that he was perhaps a player, but he had opened up his mouth and started in with that Australian accent. Plus, he kind of looked like Christopher Nolan, who she personally considered the sexiest man in Hollywood, and he was Australian, which she had thought Christopher Nolan was until somebody at work told her that Christopher Nolan was actually British. Although the person who had told her that wasn't the most reliable person, so maybe Christopher Nolan was Australian. She had been meaning to look into that for about a year. At any rate, Mitchell had reminded her of the person she considered the sexiest man in Hollywood. And it had gone from there. She took a deep breath and then began again. Whatever happened, she asked, to us moving up through the film business together? Remember? We both started out at zero at the same time. We were supposed to reach the pinnacle at the same time as a couple. Remember? Whatever happened to that? Mitchell shrugged. I've just been thinking lately, that's all, he said. So, we're not going to reach the pinnacle together, she asked. Sarah, he began hesitantly, letting out a long breath of air. Sarah, I don't think that you are going to reach the pinnacle. Once again, Sarah blinked. His initial announcement about the breakup had been like a punch to the stomach. Now this? Well, this one felt more like a kick to the head. Sarah just stared at Mitchell. She was absolutely and completely speechless. Finally, Mitchell broke the silence. Look, he said, I'm gonna go. With a new job and all, I should really get some sleep. I'll crash at CJ's and I'll see you. And he stood up and he left her there, staring after him. Sarah put her forehead down on the table. She simply stared down at her lap, unsure about anything. "And you realize," said the guy at the next table, "that he just stuck you with the bill." Sarah didn't respond. She merely continued to stare down at her lap.